You're muted.
Oh, I am?
Oh, you were. You're good.
Oh. Welcome to the show, everybody, to the Seven Figures or Bust podcast. This is episode 37. And welcome back to another episode, guys, of the #1 podcast in the world for helping you grow your insurance business. I am Christian Brindle. I'm joined with my co-host, Glen Shelton. And we have an awesome show for you guys today. For any of you that are watching live, happy Monday. And hope everybody had a great weekend. Glenn, how was the weekend for you?
So I don't know if we want to start with a little conspiracy theory, but
I would love to. I kind of wish we could talk about nothing but conspiracy theories on this show.
Okay, so go back to COVID, okay? Go back to the pandemic. The whole idea behind isolating ourselves from each other to avoid getting sick. Obviously, that's sound science, right? Like if I'm never around a sick person, I can't get sick, right? Like that works, right?
Sure. Yeah, in theory.
In theory, right? I have this theory or this idea that because we spent so much time trying to isolate ourselves from each other, that now that we kickstart, and now that we're like all interacting with each other again, I think there were unintended consequences of illnesses spreading quicker and faster now because we spent so much time isolating ourselves. I've been dealing with sickness in my household for a solid week, but I just feel like personally, post-pandemic, over the past 2 years, I feel like I see more illnesses both in my family and in my community more often than pre-pandemic. And the only thing I can think is that there was something happened where illnesses are now natural immunities wore off. I don't know. It's when you jumpstart a heart, like electricity, right? Like you can knock someone out with electricity, you can jumpstart a heart. I think something happened potentially worldwide. I mean, this is a big topic. This is a crazy big topic, but
it is.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this?
So I don't even know if I'd consider that really a conspiracy, right? Because they did all kinds of studies that I've read, and I'm sure you've read as well. Things that there's just been stuff all over the place about how isolating and staying inside during the pandemic weakened people's immune systems. Whereas, kind of coming after the fact, right? The next year, almost like 2021 and on, I certainly noticed that I was getting sick on a routine basis right now, part of that might be that I had a little kid, and you have 3 of them. I mean, yes. I know you have one of them is a teenager, but I couldn't tell if it was like, oh, the kid's getting sick because they don't have much of an immune system yet, and then they're just giving all of their disgusting childhood illnesses to me, and coughing right in my face each morning as they wake me up, or if it's a lower of immune system. But I think that makes perfect sense to me. And I think they've had all kinds of studies about it that have kind of talked about how, just isolating hurts and weakens your immune system. I think it makes perfect sense.
I guess, and I think you're absolutely, and I've seen a lot of those studies too, but I don't think it's something that's being publicly talked about, though. I guess is the thing. Why I call it a quote unquote conspiracy theory is that, like, I don't think this is something that is really discussed. And I think essentially the natural immunity because, everyone's interacting with each other at different times. People are getting sick at different times. So there was this natural immunity to certain common illnesses that essentially all together we all brought down, right? We all took down some natural immunity that we had. So now all of a sudden, when a common illness, common cold, flu A, flu B, norovirus, whatever common illness you want to bring up, now all of a sudden I think it can rapidly shoot through some of these communities. And I think it probably will take a lot of time. I mean, natural immunity is built over years.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
what's it going to take for our communities to build these natural immunities back up? I mean, here we are, it's, 3-4 years post pandemic, but I don't know. I still feel like it's the same routine. And I know I'm not alone. I've seen posts on Facebook recently where just recently someone said, everyone I know has been sick in the last 30 days. I'm like, see, I'm not alone. Like it's going on. It's going through. I don't know. I don't remember this like 2019, 2018. I don't remember this type of situation happening. I don't know.
Yeah, my whole family got sick in December. Miraculously, I was spared. I try to take my vitamins, a good old multivitamin, good old vitamin C. My doctor recently suggested I start taking iron on its own, so now I'm taking iron. So maybe that helps me. I don't know, but yeah, miraculously, I mean, 9 times out of 10, if my family gets sick, I get sick too. It's usually a foregone conclusion, but this past time I didn't. But yeah, I've seen it a lot as well. It's just kind of been kind of this mass thing of sickness kind of spreading. It is an interesting kind of phenomenon. Maybe phenomenon is not the right word.
It's an interesting social experiment that I think we're all a part of. Like
I don't want to get too down this rabbit hole, but I do have a question related to this. Did you read RFK's book, The Real Anthony Fauci? I'm about halfway through the audiobook.
I haven't.
I have a physical copy too, but I'm about halfway through the audiobook, and it is frightening.
I just recently heard someone reference it, and it was a very similar response that they had to it. I'm very curious. I would like to read it or listen to it just out of pure curiosity of what I've already heard from third parties. I can only imagine. And there's there's a lot of stuff that I already know. I mean, the whole gain of function research, we're probably demonetized now because we've said enough keywords.
First 8 minutes of the show.
Yeah, 8 minutes. We've already been demonetized here. But gain of function, I'm super against the whole idea behind gain of function research is pure insanity to me. Like you're basically creating biological weapons. So anyone who's a part of that or supports gain of function research, that whole topic is crazy to me.
And an interesting thing, I was listening to Rogan over the weekend, and he said something super interesting because he was talking about the book. That's why it was fresh in my mind. But I listened to it probably around Christmas time. And one thing he said that was super interesting was there's so many damning claims in that book about Dr. Fauci. And if it was just all lies and bullshit, why hasn't RFK been sued? But you can't sue if it's true.
Yeah. Right? I heard that.
And I was like, that's an incredibly decent point. And then, like the book sold millions of copies. They wouldn't put it on the New York Times bestseller list, even though, but they're putting books on there that had sold like 50 to 100,000 copies, but they won't put his book on because it doesn't fit the narrative. And it's crazy. It's crazy to go down the rabbit hole. But anyway, let me pivot, guys. Before I get into the main topic of this show, let's quickly talk about this show's sponsor, Hire Heroes. So I'll quickly tell you guys about Hire Heroes, guys. If you are up to your eyeballs, I just saw a post today in a social media group from an agent that was just talking about how do you guys keep up? How do you guys do it? Blah, blah, blah. Clearly, just by reading their posts, they're working 100% on their own. If you need help, if you're overwhelmed by your business, there's just too much going on, you're trying to do everything yourself, but maybe you don't feel like you can afford hiring somebody stateside, a virtual assistant is a fantastic alternative to kind of come in and help you in your business. They're extremely affordable. They're very well trained. They can help you out with a multitude of different things. At Hire Heroes, we specialize in providing you with high quality vetted virtual assistants. We only provide the best of the best from what we found in our organization. So reach out to Hire Heroes today and get more information on virtual assistants. All right. Let's talk about this topic. We were texting over the weekend a little bit about it.
Yes.
There's so many topics that we have lined up for this show that I desperately want to get to throughout as we go throughout the new year and go throughout January. But this one in particular, I felt was so interesting to me personally that I was like, I would love to talk. I'd love to tackle this sooner rather than later. And that's gimmicks, right? What determines something to be an actual real like hack, like a life hack, something like that, versus a gimmick, right? Like what's a gimmick? What's a hack? Because I do feel like the line has become extremely blurred, and there's so many people out there that sell trainings and all different kinds of, recruitment services, whatever the case might be, off of the backs of gimmicks, just things they're like, oh, you better do this or you're not going to be successful. Right. And it's like, and I hear that, I'm like, both of us have been extremely successful in our careers. We run a multi-million-dollar company together. Both of us are multimillionaires at this point. And like, for me, I'll hear something, I'll be like, yeah, I've never done that. And I'm probably more successful than you, person saying it, Or other times it is someone that's more successful than me, but it's like, it's close, we're on the same level almost. And they'll be like, yeah, I contribute my success to this. I'm like, do you though? Do you? Like, or are you just like, you don't want to tell people what really made you successful because you don't want everyone doing it,
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of go down this journey on this. So when I first talk about this, is there a particular thing that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, there's a few. And it's tough because I feel like with this, because I did spend some time thinking about it since we were texting about it. And it's tough because I feel like anything I say, there's probably someone in the audience who would be like, that's not true. It worked for me. And it's like, that's fine. If it worked for you, that's fine. But
I think there's like certain things that might appeal to a certain individual. Let me give an example, right?
Yeah, you go first. Yeah.
The one that popped into my head the most is, I know some people in the space that for a while they were just so big on, I don't have a TV in my house, and that's why I'm successful. And for some people, maybe that's the case, right? For some people, maybe that's the case. Like, maybe that works for some people.
I have heard this one.
I have a good list of them, by the way, that we can kind of tackle. But like, I think about myself. I'm like, huh.
I haven't watched a television show since 2022.
Right. Yeah, just stuff like that. Like, I think about myself, right? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my house. 5. And I think,
oh my God,
like on certain ones like that, I think the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, to where over excess of watching television is probably not constructive, right? But like, if you watch a movie on the weekends, or if you watch like a television show or a documentary or something before you go to bed, does that mean you're not going to be successful? I think that's horseshit.
Yeah. That's a great one. That's a great one. And I've heard that one a lot.
And there's so many things you can watch that's like, you actually learn things from it.
Sure.
Like there's so many documentaries I've watched that I've learned tons of things that I utilize in my life. Right. I know you're the same way.
Yeah. I love documentaries.
I've watched I've watched plenty of movies about highly successful people that I feel like I've taken a lot of value from, right? Like The Social Network. I love that movie.
That's a great
The Founder. One. I love that movie, right? Like, am I not supposed to watch these things because I'm not supposed to have a TV?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think, and it's one of those things where I think a theme of this will probably be, it probably depends on the person. Some people probably are addicted and they can't turn it off, right?
Totally.
Those people, maybe they probably should go without.
Some people can't. Yeah. Some people can't handle. I was just talking to someone. I guess I don't want to say any information that can necessarily link to this person, but but I was having a conversation with this other adult in the past. This is probably about the last week, and I was talking this other adult. I'm talking about a show I really like, Survivor. That's one of my like guilty pleasure shows for those Survivor fans out. Have you ever watched Survivor?
Yeah, it's been forever. Like
I've
only watched a couple episodes in my life.
You should watch it because the social aspect of like the tribe and like voting people out. Like I think you'd really love it because like we're always talking about like alliances and stuff. But that's like my guilty pleasure show when it is on. I'll usually watch that at night. I was talking to another adult about this, and then they started rifling off other shows that they watch. Bang, this show, this one, this one. I didn't know like any of these other shows. And they're like, oh, I watch a lot of TV. I was like, yeah, you must, because I don't know. I thought I watch a decent amount of TV, but man, they listed off like a dozen shows and I didn't know like any of them.
Yeah.
So and then they admitted they watched a ton of TV. I'm like, yeah, I mean, some people probably can't put the remote down, you know?
And I'm exactly the same way as you, right? Like I feel like anytime I go anywhere, like if I go to an event or a conference, I'll be at like a dinner or like some kind of like, gathering or whatever, like with several other people. And a topic seems to always come up of these shows they're watching, various like hit shows right now. And typically I've never watched any of them. So I'm just like, cool. That sounds cool. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
But like admittedly, I don't watch that much TV.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I view it as something that, from time to time, it's something that I can watch, something that I can learn from. From time to time, maybe I want to watch something and relax. Maybe I want to turn a game on and watch a game. Maybe I want to watch Home Alone on Christmas, right? Like, I don't feel like those things have ever kept me from being successful, and clearly not, right? Like, so I look at that one as like, maybe for some people, they just can't put the remote down, like you said, right? They they watch every show, and maybe they should read a book.
TV's on all day.
Yeah, like that I don't feel like is good. But I feel like excess in a majority of things is probably that. Like, so I don't know. I just think it's
the poison's in the dose, like ibuprofens, any substance you could really point to the same thing. You take a couple of ibuprofens and it can really make a big difference in how you're feeling. You take half a bottle of ibuprofen, you may have just killed yourself. There's a line here, you guys. You got to find that middle ground, right? I mean,
but I do feel like the majority of people that I know that are really successful, they have a TV and they watch it sometimes. Like I was listening to the Patrick Bet David podcast recently, and he was talking about a movie that he recently watched and how much he liked it. Like, how much did that dude sell his company for? Like $200-300 million. But he has a TV. You know what I mean? Like,
clearly not successful.
Clearly not. Like, I think to me, I put that one in the gimmick category. Yeah. Because maybe for like a small percentage of the population, maybe it's a bigger percentage of the population, I don't know. But I don't feel like I feel like that has more to do with your habits than it does with the TV being there. Yeah. Right? Like, I think if you have bad habits and you have a problem with watching too much TV and you get rid of the TV, but you don't fix the habits, you're just going to find something else to waste your time on, in my opinion.
100%. I totally agree with that. Okay, so another one that comes to mind that's in this same vein, and this is an interesting one for me because I've been on both sides of this one, okay? And I used to hammer this one, calling it bullshit. I was like, nope, that's not true. I'm an example that this isn't true. And now I've come full circle. I'm on this side. So it's waking up early, waking up at 5 a.m.
This was on my list. I bet it was.
Yeah, I bet it was. This is a classic, right? This is a classic. Yes. I was not a morning person for a really long time. I don't even, I still, even though I get up at 5 a.m. almost every day now, I still don't know if I'd call myself a morning person. When
I think of a morning person, sorry, I just wanted to interject this before I forgot. When I think of a morning person, I think of somebody that hops out of bed and they're like, so like you're probably just like me, where like I get up and I'm groggy, right? I'm just like in a daze for probably the first hour or so.
Yeah. Yep. I would say
continue.
That's pretty accurate. So yeah, never been that person in the morning that shoots out of bed, doesn't need coffee or caffeine. Like I'm typically, I'd say from the time I was, a teenager until probably 25, 26, 27, which, God, man, I sound old when I say that. I was very much so a night owl. My most productive time was probably between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. If I was working, and then it also kind of accelerated some of this too, because working with folks in the Philippines, again, shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Hire Heroes, they're working graveyard shift when they're working our daytime hours. So sometimes it was easier for me to interact with my team, especially in the early days when I didn't necessarily have everyone working graveyard shift. Sometimes I'd have people working their daytime hours. So I'm staying up during my nighttime hours to connect with them.
And what time would you wake up in that scenario? Like, let's say you go to bed at 2. What time would you wake up?
That's probably that would be like an accurate average. So if I'm going to bed at 2, I'm probably waking up at like 9, 7. I've always needed probably about 7 hours of sleep. I feel like it's my number. What's your number? Out of curiosity, what's your sleep number where you're like, I need this many hours?
Mine's about the same. Like I preferably, if I can get 7.5, that's kind of perfect for me. But I don't think I can. I start to have trouble functioning if I'm under 7.
I can do 6. I can function pretty well on 6. I think 7's my number. 8 would be nice, but anything more than 8, and I feel like I'm tired because I slept too much.
Same, 100%.
Yeah. To get back to this topic though. So I that was me for like at least a solid decade, if not longer. Is I'm staying up late. I'm getting up around 9. Whereas again, and at the time, the hustle culture is saying you have to get up at 5 a.m. to be successful, and I felt like I was bucking this trend. And I'm like, no, look, I'm building a business by staying up late. Like staying up late is helping me build my business.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something. And now here I am full circle. I'm getting up early, and I feel like it is beneficial to start my day. And I feel like having this ramp up into the morning where I feel like I'm hitting full speed by, 7, 8, 9 a.m. versus getting up at 7, 8, 9 a.m. I do see the difference. But I am going to bed significantly earlier now. I'm not staying up till 2. I'm going to bed at like 9.
Sure.
9:30.
So that time that you used to work late into the night is basically sacrificed. We're not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, but it's a trade-off of some sort. And for me too, right? Like past probably, I don't know, 30 to 60 days, I've changed my schedule to where I'm getting up 6:30 most days, as well. I'm not getting up at 4 or 5. I don't really have a desire to, right? Because to really do that, you have to go to bed at like 9. And I just don't want to do that, right? I'm not willing to do that. But even before that, I would get up on a normal day at like 7 or 7:30. 7:30 probably the latest. I think like when people talk about this, because I think this is a good one. When people talk about, gotta get up 4 or 5 a.m., to be successful, people sell that as like basically a one track, like it's a cookie cutter kind of thing. I think for me, what I get the most out of getting up is because the time I get up matches my schedule so well. And I think it depends on somebody's schedule, right? Like for my normal, if I'm in the office, my normal day will be, I'll get here at 8:30 to 9, and I'll work here until about 5:30 to 6. That's a typical day for me. And so the benefit for me of getting up when I get up is it gives me enough time to wake up, eat breakfast, go to the gym, get a workout in, take a shower, do all that stuff. It gives me plenty of time to get basically my morning routine in. So that way, when I start my day here, I feel awake, I feel good, I feel rejuvenated.
Yeah.
Now, if I started my day here at the office at 10, and let's say I worked here till 7, for example, I could probably get up at 7, no problem, and get all those same benefits. Right?
For sure.
And so I think that's a big thing, is like just factoring in kind of like your schedule. I think possibly with you too, like since we merged, you're such a big part of the agency now, and the agency starts rocking and rolling at like 8 your time. So that probably has something to do with it too, doesn't it?
For sure. Yeah. It does, but I do think it also goes back to this idea though, like it's similar to the TV thing in the sense that like everyone gets the same amount of time. Like everyone's going to sleep 6 to 8 hours, and now you have all this other time in your day, and how you utilize that time is really up to you, whether you choose to stay up late or you choose to get up early. Like it's really all about time management.
Yes, agreed.
That's really the bottom line to being successful. And I have been down the rabbit hole a bit, like listening a lot of podcasts too. I've listened to a lot of podcasts where people have talked about this exact topic. There's a lot of people who are super successful who stay up late, and they are burning those hours between 10 to 2, 10 to 3. And that's where they're getting, like a lot of writers, again, if you have a family, if you have a business, the daytime hours can sometimes be so busy and distracting. You have so much going on. So that's where these early morning, it's very similar. Early morning, late at night, you're taking advantage of time that others aren't necessarily, and you're utilizing that to your advantage to help get ahead in your day or get ahead in your business. I do think that the way our companies have come together, I think trying to get ahead of it in the morning has been most beneficial for my schedule, for sure.
Yeah. So answer this question. So with that one in particular, could you categorize it as a hack or a gimmick?
I think the hack is finding out one or the other, whether it's staying up late or getting up early, and taking advantage of a couple hours on either end, whatever fits your schedule best. That's the hack. The gimmick is saying that you have to be awake at a certain time. You don't have to be awake at a certain. There's plenty of successful people who sleep in. There's plenty of successful people who stay up late, etc. That's the gimmick. But the hack is, how can you carve out time in your day where your normal day-to-day activities, your family, your hobbies, your business, stuff that you've already got going on, if you're trying to get ahead, you have to figure out outside of that time. You're sleeping, you're eating, you've got all these other things going on. How can you hack that time? Gary Vee, I think, is the one that has hammered this. I don't know. Have you seen those videos he's put out where he's like,
oh yeah.
He'll start hammering off like the hours in a day. He's like, okay, what are you doing with the rest of those hours? What are you doing with the rest of that time? And I've done that with my son before. I've gone through the same thing where he's like feeling overwhelmed with what he has going on. I'm like, okay, let's go through your day. Let's talk about how many hours you have and what you're doing with those hours, because it's just time management, you guys. But managing your time effectively is the hack. Having to get up at 5 a.m. to be successful is the gimmick.
Agreed. And I think I couldn't have said it better myself. And I think people take something that could be a hack and they repackage it, reword it, to be a gimmick to sell you their crap.
Right, 100%. 100%.
I love that one. Okay, here's the next one on my list: taking ice cold showers. I know that you have been a fan lately of.
Yes, I just did this morning. I'm still warming up. So
I don't do these, so I feel like maybe I'm not
I want to
super
force
qualified
you. I want to
do
like
them.
dunk you in ice. Be like
There's nothing I hate more than being cold.
an ice
There's
baptism. It's gonna happen.
nothing.
Maybe in Nashville. Maybe in Nashville, I'll force you. I'll
Oh
baptize you in
God.
ice.
Oh goodness.
Shout
So
out to the playbook event, everybody.
yeah.
Nashville, February 22nd.
So talk to me though. Talk to me about this, right? Like I
Yeah,
feel like you're more qualified to talk about this
I
one than I
am.
am. Talk to me about it. Gimmick or hack? Why?
This is a total hack for me, you guys. And part of it is getting old. This is sad to say out loud. 34 as of the time of this recording at the moment. And what I can tell you as I continue to age is there is those days where it's like something is hurting, right? Your shoulders hurting, your legs hurting, your knees hurting, your ankles hurting. Maybe you did something yesterday, either on accident or too much physical activity, whatever. So, I try to stay pretty physically active. So part of the hack with the ice bath is that physical pain, it essentially will take it away almost for a full day for me. So like if I hit the gym and I went a little too hard and now, I have, I'll give you an example. I did too many pull-ups a couple months ago and I just torched my back. I was so sore. But when I took the ice bath, I wasn't sore for a full 24 hours. Now that's just like kind of one example. I also feel like you get the endorphins from freezing yourself and then your body has to like kickstart to heat back up. It's almost like a caffeinated feeling. You feel a little bit of a rush. It's not fun. And here's my favorite part too is the mental aspect of it, because I can't tell you how many times I fill my bathtub with ice and then I'm just standing there looking at it. And I'm like, why am I like, I don't want to get it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to get in that ice, but I do want the benefits and I do want to be on the other side. And being able there's a lot. I think I would love for you to try, and it's tough because the first few times it's hard, but once you even adjust slightly, which our bodies are incredible at adjusting to different things. And once you adjust even slightly and you can start doing it, I'm telling you, I think you would love it. It sucks being cold. It does.
So I know there's, obviously it's a long time tried and true technique of a lot of athletes, right? Like after a game, after a big long workout, Rogan's a big proponent of it, right?
Oh yeah.
I heard him recently talking about, might have been on the same show I referenced earlier, but talking about it and talking about how he's like, I've been doing it for years, and every time I'm about to do it, I don't want to do it. There's a little the little voice in the back of my head that's like, no, I don't want this. Don't do this. He's like, it's my inner little bitch, but I do it anyway.
Yes.
So I feel like that one makes total sense that it's a real hack.
It is.
I just don't know if I have the strength to do it. I don't like
even to like literally. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it consistently. I would say for probably 4 or 5 months now. 4 or 5 months, probably 4 or 5 times a week, and it's never really gets easier. It's not fun, but there is that inner bitch, that little inner bitch voice where you're just like, it's similar. It's this like an analogy would be making your bed in the morning. That whole concept of, and maybe that's another hacker gimmick we could talk about, but the idea that like you do something early in the morning, you have a successful completed task right away, and it's kind of like a dopamine hit. Now you're on to the next thing you're going to complete and move on. It's kind of like that. You get through something that sucks. You're sitting in ice for 5 to 10 minutes. If you can do that, I mean, what could possibly be worse than sitting in ice for 5 to 10 minutes? It's like,
yep,
run through the walls that just come up in front of me. It's a hack, you guys.
I will agree that we can put that one in the hack category.
Okay. Hack it up.
And maybe one of these days I'll try it. We'll see.
You will. I'll force you. Don't worry.
Let's see. So you mentioned making your bed. I feel like that one, that could just be more like a cleaning your house thing, right? It's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Probably not a horrible idea. I don't know.
I think the one, here's one that I was thinking about too, that I think is a great one to talk about, because I think this is one that falls on a lot of people's, like, it falls on deaf ears when this gets discussed. And a lot of people think, oh, it's just because you have a lot of money, you have a lot of disposable income. Paying someone to do household chores, household tasks, I think is a major hack.
Agreed.
Mowing the lawn, cleaning your house.
I don't do none of that.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't
it's
do
something,
any of that.
because there is like this perception of like masculinity, or like being a man, where it's like, if anything breaks in your house, you should be the one to fix it, or, you know,
never fix
it yourself.
In my new
right.
house. Not one thing. Right. Never even lifted a hand finger to do it. We had a light bulb go out, and it was really high up, and I would have needed a ladder to change it. I didn't change it. Someone came and changed it.
Yeah. That's a great example though, because again, it's a simple math equation, right? The time it would take you to get a ladder, maybe you don't have a ladder big enough, so now you have to go to the store and buy a bigger ladder, right?
It goes into this like super complicated conversation, right? Because like I have a ladder, but the ladder I had, I probably would have had to stand on the very top. Then I'm not safe, right? Then I'm risking myself. Yep. Imagine I fall off the ladder and I'm paralyzed. Like, is any of that worth?
What a dark.
but like you have to think like that sometimes, right? Like,
for sure.
Or I mean, so to combat that, I could go to the store and buy a new ladder. So I have to buy a ladder. I have to, you know what I mean? Like, there's just there's so many elements to it. Or I can pay $150 and have somebody come and do it who has the ladder. And, you know, and again, they can do it while I'm at work. I don't have to even bother with it.
With hundreds of insurance agents and agency owners at the event, this could not be a better opportunity to spotlight your business. If you're looking for a sponsorship opportunity and where to spend your sponsorship dollars this year, the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit is the spot to do it. You can have your own booth. You can network with agents. This is the 4th annual summit, so there's going to be a lot of agents there, and a lot of agents who are looking for help from vendors for leads, educational vendors. You could have a software tool. There's so many great vendors that we've had in the past, and we're looking at a lot of great opportunities for businesses to sponsor at the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. So if you are looking for a sponsorship opportunity, make sure to check out 7figuresmedicareagentsummit.com.
Get your tickets today while they're still available, and reach out about sponsorship opportunities. We'd love to have you involved with the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit in 2025. Now back to the show.
Yeah, and there are certain, like mowing my lawn as an example. Like, I actually enjoy that. Like, that is a task that I've been doing it for a really long time. I actually like doing it, but the reality is, when it comes to just the dollars and cents behind how much it would cost for me to outsource that to someone, and what I can accomplish by getting that time back, by buying that time back, it's just a no-brainer. It's just a no-brainer. And I think a lot of people miss on this one. A lot of people, it's similar to hiring an employee, right? Again, shout out to Hire Heroes.
It's that old concept of, I can just do it myself. I can do it better. Or, I don't have to teach someone, or take your pick, right? I can just do it myself and save the money, save this, save that. Whereas there's so many things your time could be spent on that's a better use of your time. if you're trying to really grow your business as big and successful as you possibly can. It just is a fact. So yeah, I think that's a great one. I would put that in the hat category for sure. Because I know
hat.
for me, like in the early years of my business, I would do pretty much everything around like wherever we were living. And most of the time I would do it wrong. Not only would it take me time, but then it would be wrong. It wouldn't be done right. It wouldn't be fixed correctly. You know what I mean? Like, or like, so I'll use another example. We put up a giant ass Christmas tree, like 10 feet tall.
Yeah,
in our
I saw
house.
that. Yeah.
Posted it on my personal Facebook page. Maybe some of you guys saw it.
It's huge.
I didn't put it up. If I had put it up, it wouldn't look so good. You know what I mean? I did decorate it. I wanted to do that. I did decorate. I put the ornaments on, things like that, with a ladder, with my ladder. And that ladder was tall enough, that kind of thing. But
you're killing me, dude.
But I also didn't take it down. It went down last week. I didn't, and I didn't take one ornament off either.
Yeah. But again, like, it just makes sense. It really just makes sense. And I think once you can quantify how much your time is worth, and you genuinely understand how much an hour of your time's worth, paying someone else to do things that either you don't want to do or you don't have time to do, right? Or like I said, I like mowing my lawn, but the ROI of paying someone else to do it is just, it's stupid, right? It's so much easier to pay someone to do it, and I get that time back.
I pay a neighbor kid $20 a week to do my lawn. $25 if he does the weeds.
There you go.
And like, that's a great deal.
That is a great deal.
So yeah, I think that's a total hack. And I just think back to the days where maybe, when I'm just starting out in the business, I couldn't afford to do those, to hire someone to help with those things.
Right.
I just remember I was working my butt off in my business for sure, but there was constantly times where I would get pulled into one of these stupid things, and I'd feel frustration because I'm like, I'm busy. I need to get back to work. I don't have time for this kind of thing.
Yeah. And
you were actually the person that I think the most helped me understand that, the value of your time kind of thing.
For sure.
And I've
many
embraced
conversations.
it for sure. I've embraced it for sure over the years. I love that one. So there's a couple others. I know we're not too close to the end, but we're getting there. There's some others I want to dive into. I think are great. Hypnosis.
Oh, here's a good one.
Admittedly, I've never been hypnotized. I think it's a fucking gimmick.
You can't say that. You've never been hypnotized before.
I don't believe anyone can wave something in front of my face and I just lose control of myself. I don't believe it. It's possible. Unless you drug me. I don't believe it.
So I have a family member who was struggling to quit smoking cigarettes. And they went through a couple sessions of hypnosis therapy. Now, I think they did other things too. I don't think it was just hypnosis therapy that they went through. But they do attribute hypnosis therapy to helping them quit smoking. I think there's a line. It's kind of like psychic mediums almost, in the sense that there's probably, I do believe there are some people out there that are like genuinely gifted, but there's also a ton of like fraudulent people who just fake it, right? Who have no abilities. And I think hypnosis probably falls into this, where like there's a lot of gimmicks, a lot of fakes, a lot of frauds. But I do think there's probably some out there, some aspect of it that's a hack that works.
Okay, let's dissect this a little bit.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a situation? Have you ever been hypnotized? Let's start there.
I have not.
Have you ever seen anyone get hypnotized?
Not like, I've seen videos of people being hypnotized. I've never been like around anyone being hypnotized.
I struggle with this one immensely because when I think about it,
I want to send someone to the office to hypnotize you.
I just don't believe, like, unless you put a substance into my body, you can't make me do shit if I don't want to. You know, that's kind of how I feel. Like, I feel like there's science there, right? Like, I don't know. I don't understand the science behind it. I suppose, but
maybe weaker minds though.
Okay, I'll give you another example.
Weaker minds are easier to be hypnotized.
It's like the Force. Is that what it is?
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
The Force can be a strong ally against weak minds. It's one of those. Okay, I'll give you another example, right? And I don't want to get off into this category. Yeah. I'm just using it as an example. My wife is a big believer in ghosts, and I'm not.
Okay.
And she's like, how can you not believe in ghosts? And I'm like, I've never seen a ghost. Like, I've never heard a ghost. I've never seen, I'll watch, I've watched like
Ghost Hunters
I've watched like those shows with her in the past. Yeah. And basically it's them walking around with flashlights for 3 hours and they don't find anything. There's never been an episode where they found a ghost. Never. You know what I mean? It's like, someone steps on a branch and they're like, oh, did you hear that? The audio picked it up. It's like, oh, it was just John. So like, I almost look at hypnosis almost in the same category. But my wife is convinced. In our old house, we had like this plate I bought for her in Japan when I went to Japan. That was up on display in the bathroom, and it fell off a shelf one night. And she's like, it's the ghost. I'm like, no. The air conditioning turned on and blew it over or something. In my mind, I look at it like she is looking for reasons to believe in the ghosts. Like the air conditioning would turn on one time and closed one of our closet doors. But I'm like, I just heard it turn on. It was fucking air conditioning, whereas I'm like, it's explainable, like John stepping on the branch. I
think I'd say 9 out of 10 times you're 100% right. But then I think there's those instances where something happens that is truly unexplainable, right? Where it's like, what happened? What was that?
Maybe so. Maybe so. I'm a skeptic because I've never had any type of experience, like of any kind. My wife told me the story one time. She's like, a ghost woke me up in my sleep. I'm like, did it now? I'm like, were you dreaming?
Did it?
I'm such an asshole. I'm such a jerk.
We're gonna get evidence on this show, you guys. We're gonna change Christian into a believer.
Okay. Let me pivot to some others because there's some other good ones, right?
Yeah, let's get through. I want to get through as many as we can.
Getting into the room when people are trying to sell tickets to the event. I have used this one myself.
Yeah.
Right. I think that it's a complicated one because I think that
who's in the room?
Right.
Yeah.
There's never any like clarity on who's in the room with you.
It's get in the room. Usually, get in the room right now. Get in the room. Like, okay, I'm going. I'm getting in the room.
I think in general, if you're getting into the right room where there's a lot of people that are, highly successful, then I think that's a good like argument for it. I think it's been overutilized to basically mean
100%.
Anytime someone sells any type of event, get in the room. Like I've seen events that market getting in the room, and then you go to the event and there's no speakers there. You're there to be pitched. Like we're talking about the other day. There's no room.
No, literally. Do you know what I'm referencing?
No, I don't.
You had a small speaking. You didn't even have a room to speak in.
That's right. Oh yeah. I totally.
There wasn't any. I don't want to say anything. There wasn't even a room.
That was painful.
There wasn't even a room.
Was one giant room with like
one
6 of us
room.
talking at the same time.
Yeah.
But, there's always that. We're like competing for people's ear space.
Yeah.
So when I was your age, or whatever
Yeah.
fuck people say.
Yeah.
But getting into the room, right? Like,
I feel like it's a gimmick.
I think it's a gimmick overall.
It's a gimmick.
90% of the time when people say that, it doesn't matter if you're in that room or not.
I feel like maybe when it was initially that message was first created, maybe originally it was a hack, right? Right time, right place, right people. You have problems in your business that you're trying to solve for. You get in the right room at the right time. You're off to the races. Yes. But since that phrase has been around, 9.5 out of 10 times, I cringe the second I hear it because I'm just like, ugh, get in the room, get in the room. What room? What room are we even talking about? Who's in this room? It's just like
the person telling you to get in the room is in the room.
Not a fan of that one. That's a gimmick for me.
The law of attraction.
Ooh.
Hugely commercially popular with things like The Secret, right? The movie, the book.
Yes.
By the way, I read the movie. I read the book, and I saw
the movie. I read the movie. Christian's living in 2030.
Turned on subtitles. No, I read the book and I watched the movie. I also
read the book and watched.
I also even read the sequel book, Power.
Hey, shout out to Oprah. Is the one that made The Secret so big. She makes it. Yeah. She made everything big. What are your thoughts, though? You haven't said how you feel about it.
I feel like I used to be when I was younger, when I was like 20, 21, 22. I was a believer. I was like, law of attraction. I'm going to attract things.
Did you do a vision board?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
I did too. I think I did multiple.
I think I did too. I think I did a couple.
Oh man! Hey, shout out to vision boards, you guys. You're still doing. I still support you. I support you.
Okay, here's my thoughts on it.
Okay,
I think overall it's a gimmick. I do think there is value in thinking positive. Having goals, like aspiring for what it is that you want in life. I think all of that is good. But The Secret in general, and most law of attraction practices are so based off of, again, attracting it to you. And it just, I think it's very attractive to people that are trying to find ways not to do the work. I think it's a message that's very appealing. You don't have to do anything. You just have to think positive and things will come to you, which there might be some truth to it, right? Like, you might attract the right people to you, you might be an attractive person, all that kind of stuff, but nothing gets around the work, right? A lot of gimmicks I feel like are very shortcutty to avoiding doing the hard, gritty stuff that people don't want to do. But in reality, if you want to be successful, you have to work your freaking ass off, and you have to do things every single day for decades that you don't want to do.
Yes.
And I think that's what people are running away from, and they run to gimmicks. And I think that's a classic one. I think that's a mainstream one.
It's a little convoluted for me because I think The Secret in general is a gimmick. The movie, the book, the hack though, I think is like if you have a list of goals and you're looking at them every day, right? Some people are like, I have my list of goals on my mirror. I look at it every day, every time I'm in the bathroom. That visually looking at your goals on a repetitive basis, I think is a hack. And so like some of that type of hack is in The Secret, but I think the idea that like, I'm going to put a yacht on my vision board and I'm going to get a yacht in the next 3 years because it's on my vision board. Like that's
I'm listening.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
looking for it.
For The Secret. Oh, I'm sure you have it in your library there. Oh, here it is.
There it is.
Do you remember how big that was when it was peaking? It was like, I felt like everyone was talking about it.
Amazing idea. I wish I had thought of that one.
Yeah.
I wish I had thought of that one.
It's a feel good. I think the part of the reason why it was so big, it's like a feel good one. It's you get those endorphins. You're like, oh look, here's my sports car and my yacht and my mansion. It's all on my vision board, and But the hack is just, I think, having goals and visualizing them and seeing them every day. I think that is a genuine hack. Because a lot of people,
I think that's real.
Yeah, a lot of people get distracted. They're not thinking about their goals on a regular basis.
Yeah, I like that. I like that for focus from a focus standpoint.
Yeah.
I do feel like if you think positive, if you find a way to almost like visualize where you're going and where you want to be, that I think that's very attractive to people. And I think people will want to be around you. I think people want to do business with you. I think, all of those things I think are very real. So I think there's certain elements of it that are hacky, for lack of a better word. I think you can put certain elements of it from that perspective into the hack category. But I feel like overall it's kind of a gimmick, because I feel like the vast majority of people that are attracted to it for the reasons of they just want to find a shortcut and not have to work hard and go through a lot of pain and suffering and bullshit, which you have to do to be successful. If you're watching or listening to this, if anyone ever tells you otherwise, I believe it's a gimmick, no matter how they're telling you.
Yep.
Like that's a good moral to this episode.
I've got a spicy one that I've been sitting on. Do you have?
Please. We have time for one more. Let's.
Having a mentor. That you need to have a mentor in order to be successful. This was the one at the start of this when I said
that's a good one.
Yeah, having that you have to have a mentor, because I see this come up all the time. I see people talk about, well, the easiest way to get to point B is to have someone who's been there before. You want to have $100 million company, you need to have someone in your back pocket who runs $100 million company that you can go to and talk to. And I have been on both sides of this one as well. I've had mentors who've helped, who have been a hack or a shortcut at times where, I've gotten good advice. I've also had some bad mentors, you guys.
Sure.
I've had some people who have steered me the wrong way, who I was like, man, this person's super successful. I'm going to go to them for advice, or maybe even create a mentor relationship, like a long-term relationship here where I can, come to them for help. And it wasn't a good thing. So I don't know if I can say it's like a hack or a gimmick, as much as you have to have it has to be the right person, the right relationship for it to really work, for it to be a hack.
I agree with that. I more would favor in putting it as a hack than a gimmick, though, because I do believe that if you do have the right person, that I think a mentor can help teach you a abundance of different things, right? I know mentors have helped me a lot in my life and in my business, for in multiple different ways, with multiple different people, for multiple different reasons, all of those different things. I think it's often used as a gimmicky kind of thing to like sell things to people. But I overall, I think I'm a big believer. I know there's been so many times over the years where because I think not believing in mentorship overall, like if someone took a stand that they were just like, no, I don't believe in mentorship, that's a gimmick, that kind of thing.
Like you with ghosts.
I think you see people, I think you see people like that all the time in business, especially in our space. And it hurts them exponentially because they feel like they're typically know-it-alls. Like there's been so many agents over the years that we've worked with, or I've worked with. I've had agents that I've employed work in my office, and I've just had thoughts about some of these individuals when I've gone through them and over the years, where I'm just like, I wish they would just let me mentor them. I'll try to teach them something and they'll argue with me about it. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I know something you don't. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Like that is what goes in my mind.
We've talked about many of these agents
like,
who
if
won't listen.
If that person would let me mentor them,
right.
they would do so much better because they don't know what I know. I don't care how smart they think they are, So like, overall, I feel like not believing in mentorship ends up biting most people in the butts, because then they like, oh, I know it all. I'm going to trust my instincts or whatever. And your instincts got you where you are, broke,
For sure.
like,
there's no doubt in my mind that the right mentor, the right relationship, the right mentor is a massive hack. And I have seen that firsthand. The right person who can genuinely shortcut you and be like, hey, you're about to take the wrong turn here, and this is going to cost you 2 years. I've been down that road, right? Like, and I've been on the opposite side where I've been able to mentor people too, and been able to have that type of relationship where it's like, hey, I've been through this before. Like, you don't want to do what you're about to do. Trust me.
Yes.
Because this is what's going to happen. So the gimmick part of this, though, is that you have to have a mentor, or that you have to have a certain mentor, right? Because some people paint themselves as like, I'm the mentor, I'm the consultant. Like, you have to work with me to be successful. Like, that's the gimmick.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's you gotta find the right person, the right relationship. I know we're at the hour mark. I would really love to finish your list if we didn't already finish. I'd love to keep going. What else is on there?
There's one more. There's one more.
Okay.
I was just like you once. Right? Like the whole.
That's kind of fits into that mentor conversation a little bit.
Yeah. I think it ties pretty closely together. But I almost feel like oftentimes it's just disingenuous. It's like, were you like me? You probably weren't. You probably have this charmed life,
Yeah, something I've been thinking a lot about is, and this fits into this topic, is like how much day-to-day life has evolved and changed over the past 10 years. Like what 2014 was like versus, here we are, January 2025. It's really hard to take someone at their word like that, where it's like, I was just like you once, or I had the same exact business as you 10 years ago. It's like, well, things have changed quite a bit over the past 10 years. Technology, it's like, I don't know about that. That seems kind of gimmicky for sure.
I know we are at a little past the hour mark. Let's wrap up with final thoughts. I love this episode, by the way.
Yeah, this was super fun.
We could have kept going way longer. But you and I both have a meeting to get into.
We do have another meeting.
I'll start with my final thoughts, you guys.
Please do.
I think if anyone made it through this entire episode, you probably get the impression that both of us are just like super anti any type of like personal development or mentor thing, because the majority of them we probably said were gimmicks.
There's a lot of hacks.
Sure.
I felt like there was a lot of hacks.
But it might get that perception. I don't believe that's my belief at all. I'm a big believer in growth and learning and everything. I'm just a believer in substance, right? I'm a believer in substance. I don't like things that come across just corny to me or like gimmicky to me. And I think there are a lot of those things on there, that are out there that are very gimmicky, that it's like they're just there to sell sales training or, coaching or whatever it is. And there's no substance behind it, right? I hate that kind of stuff. It's almost like malnourishment from like fast food information you're absorbing, right? There's no data there. There's no substance there. There's no like real actionable information you can plug into and help grow your business. I'm a big believer in real value. I think if I was a little bit more gimmicky, maybe I would be even bigger than I am if I would just buy into some of this stuff. But like everything we've talked about on this, almost not everything, but a majority of the things we talked about on this episode today, at one point I was a believer in, and I formed my opinion through going through it.
Yeah.
A couple of the things I didn't have a lot of experience with, I tried to be more objective with those, but like, yeah, I mean, so take that for what you will. I think there are a lot of genuine things out there that come from business mentors and entrepreneurs and things like that are really good information. But I think a lot of times you have to be able to look through and be like, okay, is this person trying to sell me a hunk of shit to get me to buy something, or is there real genuine value here? So that's my final thoughts.
Yeah, I think, when you look at like something like the event space, there are certain events that you can go to that will promise to help you grow your business, to better yourself as an individual. And they turn out to be kind of these secret motivational rallies where it's just this rah, 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 like, you're amazing. You've got this. You can do this.
Personal power.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's a celebrity or a B-list celebrity on stage and an ex-athlete, right? I mean, I've seen it. I've been to events where stuff like this has happened. And sometimes that's beneficial, but I'm very much so like Christian in the sense that like I want substance. I want data. I want something actionable. I want to be able to take something, use it, and run with it. And I think the secret, if I had to pick one from what we talked about, I think the secret was a really great example where it kind of, a business was essentially built around a basic concept that was a hack. They kind of built this big thing around it and made it a gimmick. Yes. So a lot of times there's these kernels of truth, these kernels of hacks, of benefits that you can pull out of these. And goal setting is a great example. I love setting goals. I love revisiting goals on a regular basis to make sure I'm on path to hit those goals. And if I'm not on path to hit those goals, how can I change direction to hit those goals, whether that's as an individual or as a team or as an entire company? Like those are things that I do all the time. So I think, again, using your logic and trusting some of those gut feelings, because I think a lot of times that's how it is for me when I'm looking at something. It could be a product, could be a service, could be an ad. A lot of times I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, is this legit? Mm-hmm. This doesn't seem like it's legit. A lot of times you just have to listen to that little voice. So yeah, super fun episode though. I love this.
This is a great topic.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. If you watch on any platform that allows you to comment on the replay, comment #team replay, subscribe. And tomorrow's episode, we're going to be joined by our first guest of the pod since we started doing it together, Miss Joanna Wyckoff. So make sure that you tune in for that episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Here's to your success and your abundance. Thanks, everybody.
Happy selling.